Hello out there, and guys, I know that the debate when it comes to knife steel and what's good and what isn't good enough will continue to rage and will be a debate for the rest of time. And I wanted to explain today and demonstrate sort of why the cheaper budget steels that I have zero problem with fit my needs perfectly well. Because what we have in front of us is the CRKT Piet, a great knife that I really enjoyed from last year. It is plastic scaled, and it is not the strongest build when it comes to beefy and overbuilt with liners. It doesn't have a lot of that stuff. It's a lightweight EDC. And what we also have in front of us today is a bunch of cardboard that needs to get broken down because the recycling is coming tomorrow. A bunch of boxes that need to be able to fit into my recycling bin. So, I mean, we're not talking about too many cuts here, but we do have a decent amount of stuff here. And it's honestly more than what I need on a daily basis on an average for my pocket knife. More than what I need to do. You know, on a daily basis, I use my knife for small packages, for small cords, little things like that. A couple boxes here and there, but you know what I'm about to do now is going to be more than what I'll do on any given day with my pocket knife. You know, and we all know, you know, if you have more than one knife and you know that you have a project where you're going to be using a knife, you probably wouldn't have to go with something like this. You could choose the beater in your collection. You could choose the tank in your collection to do that with. But this is just a demonstration to show that, hey, for me, you know, if I come across a number of things that I need to get done and all I have is this little guy, it's going to be just fine. So that's what I'm going to show you today, cutting with the CRKT Piet and getting done more than what I would need to do on an average type of day. All right, so once again, we have the CRKT Piet ready to rock and roll. This has not been professionally sharpened, so this had the factory edge when it came. I've used it a whole bunch. I've touched it up a bunch of times. So, I mean, it is relatively sharp in that I think, let's see if we can do this on camera. Yeah, it's shaving hair, so, I mean, it's sharp enough, thin enough. Let's see what it can do. And that's all I really need to accomplish, guys. Sorry if I'm shaking the camera. All I really need to accomplish is pieces about this size. So some of this stuff you can see is like super thin, should be easy. Other stuff maybe not so much. So we'll get to all of it. All right, guys, so here we are a few minutes in, and here's the Piet looking just fine. You can see there's a decent amount of cardboard that's already been cut up, but again, you know, I'm not doing anything crazy here. I'm just cutting with the seams. I'm just doing, you know, the things I need to do to break it down. The only issue that I'm having as far as the knife goes, it has nothing to do with the steel or the thinness or the performance really. It's just I would definitely prefer, maybe you can tell in seeing some of these cuts, I would definitely prefer a knife that was a little bit longer for doing stuff like this. Again, this is just fine, and that's why I say in my reviews, yeah, you're going to be able to knock out the job that you need to do, but if you're going to be cutting a bunch of cardboard for an extended amount of time, something like this, why would you grab a 2-point whatever inch knife when you could grab one that's an inch plus longer, and so that's the only thing that I would change about this. But as far as like cutting performance with the steel, things going just fine. And even more than that, any kind of issues that I am having, it's really just a matter of sharpness, which I could have done a better job with prior to this than it is with the steel itself. So let's keep going. Perfect sizes, moving up. Man, getting too old for all this bending down and kneeling and trying to cut on camera shit. Knife reviewing is a young person's game. Yeah, and guys, you can see all the leaves, the dirt maybe that's been in some of these boxes. This cardboard has been sitting outside, so it's not like super soft, but it certainly is a little bit softer than what you would expect when you bring it home. So, all things considered, I'd say the Piet's doing a pretty darn good job. Here's the end of it right here. That'll do it. All right, guys. So all things considered, I'd say this thing did a great job. And let's be real. I mean, everybody's different with what they need a knife for. That cutting that I did, all this stuff right here, is probably more than, I'll do any other day this week with a pocket knife, and honestly, in most cases, if I knew that I was walking into something like this, I would have chosen something different. And sure, I would have chosen something with probably better steel and maybe just sturdier construction and something longer, like I said before, all that stuff. But the Piet is just fine. 8CR is just fine. There are going to be people who are watching this who disagree for whatever reason. There are people with functional reasons to disagree, where they say, yeah, well, what you just did, JT, is a fraction of what I have to use a knife for in a day. And to those people, I say kudos. I completely understand. I wouldn't want 8CR either if I were using a knife all day long. Personally, I don't mind bringing this inside and touching it up and getting it ready to go again. But if you're a guy like a few of my buddies who are just constantly beating on their knives, you don't necessarily want to do that, and you don't want something that's going to let you down in the middle of a day. That can happen with a softer steel like this. But realistically, for the majority of people who are watching this, the majority of people who collect knives, like, come on, guys. Let's see if this will still shave hair. So not quite as clean as before, but it's still sharp in some areas on the blade. So, I mean, there is that. So yeah, I mean, 8CR isn't the best, but I don't know, sometimes when you see those comments from CRKT saying, we think that it's a fine steel for the price and that it's a good EDC steel, it's hard for me to argue with them when it can perform, and especially on a little guy like this. So that's my take, guys. Thanks for watching. Take care. Have a good one.